There was only one name that mattered: Bumpy Johnson.
November 7th, 1964, 6 in the morning. The crew at Marconi Funeral Home in Brooklyn punched in, only to find a sight that froze the blood in their veins. 10 body bags laid out like cordwood at the front door, every single one tagged. Vincent Rao, Paul Vario, Frank Manzo, Anthony Strollo, Thomas Abate, Joseph Valacchi, Nicholas Civella, Samuel Cavalier, Robert Mancuso, Angelo Bruno. All 10 were Lucchese family muscle, sent Friday to shake down Bumpy Johnson for 50 grand. All 10 got punched out in under a minute, pinned to the lead bag, a typed note. These 10 men came to collect a tax I never signed off on. They showed up, healed, and tried to muscle their way in. When they met pushback, they were taken off the board for trespassing on turf that belongs to Harlem, not the Lucchese outfit. Send no more collectors. Any more tries will end the same way. This business is closed. Within hours, Tommy Lucchese, the dawn of one of the 5 families, got word his whole strong-arm crew was history, wiped clean, returned in sacks like a delivery, and the message was crystal clear. You don't squeeze Bumpy Johnson for tribute. You die trying. What the Lucchese crew didn't grasp when they dispatched those 10 soldiers was that they weren't walking into a pickup. They were stepping into a slaughterhouse, locked, loaded, and absolutely ready to show the world what happens when Italian families try to tax Harlem. November 3rd, 1964, 11:47 in the morning. 4 days before the funeral home delivery, Bumpy Johnson got a cold call at his Lenox Avenue spot. 3 sharp-dressed Italians, delegates from the Lucchese family. The front man was Anthony Corallo, 49. Distinguished look, silver-streaked hair, suit tailored to fit. He laid out what he called a business proposition, just a shakedown authorized by the commission. Mr. Johnson, the Lucchese family, has been watching your racket across Harlem with a lot of interest. We figure a partnership would put bread on everyone's table. To be specific, we are proposing you kick up 50 grand a week to our outfit in exchange for protection and smooth sailing. This deal keeps the wheels turning without interference. We expect the first envelope this Friday, November 6th. Our bagmen will be here at noon to pick it up. Illinois Gordon, sitting in, felt his jaw lock up. 50 large a week. That came out to $2.6 million a year. A mountain of cash that would hand over a heavy slice of Bumpy's take. To the Lucchese crew, while getting 0 in return, the protection Corallo sold was just insurance against the Lucchese family itself, causing trouble if the cash didn't flow. The benefits were hot air. Bumpy's operation ran smooth because he made it run smooth, not because of any Italian charity. Bumpy's answer was quiet but hard as stone. Gentlemen, I appreciate you laying your cards on the table, but I got to tell you, I run independent in Harlem, and I got no taste for partnerships where I pay you for nothing. Harlem's operations stay under my thumb, and it stays running without Lucchese fingers in the pie. Tell your bosses this sit-down is over, and don't send any bagmen on Friday or ever again. Corallo's face turned to stone, the polite act vanishing. Mr. Johnson, I don't think you grasp the picture. The Lucchese family has made a ruling on your business. You can play ball and keep things friendly, or you can say no and find out why saying yes was the smarter play. 10 of our hardest hitters will be here Friday to grab the cash. I strongly advise you have it counted out. The air in the room got thick enough to slice. Bumpy knew the score. The Lucchese outfit would send the muscle just like they said, expecting to either walk out with 50 grand or scare Bumpy into line with a show of strength. But what they didn't know was that Bumpy had been ready for this exact play, building a fortress designed to break any Italian attempt, to squeeze tribute through fear. November 3rd, afternoon. Illinois Gordon hit the streets for intel immediately. Within 24 hours, he had the names on the 10 hitters the Lucchese family was sending. Vincent Rao, 42. Built like a tank with a scarred mug, a veteran enforcer known for breaking bones. Paul Vario, 38. Heavy guy with dead eyes, carrying capo-level weight. Frank Manzo, 35. Tall, slicked hair, good with tools. Anthony Strollo, 40. Lean face like a hatchet, an expert at making people sweat. Thomas Abate, 34. Stocky, moved with nervous energy. Joseph Valachi, 41. Wiry, fast hands, a made guy. Nicholas Savella, 37. Average build. Samuel Cavalier, 39. Heavy set with gray at the temples, been collecting a long time. Robert Mancuso, 36. Tall guy with a bad limp. Angelo Bruno, 33. Lean with sharp eyes, an up-and-comer. By November 5th, Gordon had the whole book on them. The 10 hitters would hit Bumpy's Lenox Avenue spot. At noon Friday, they would demand the 50 large. They had the green light to use muscle to collect, or if that failed, do enough damage to show the price of saying no to the Lucchese family. They figured they'd get the money through fear or hand out a beating. That would break Bumpy's will for the next time. What they didn't expect was a personalized ambush. From November 3rd to the 5th, Bumpy's Lenox Avenue office was turned into a bunker. The office itself was beefed up with extra bodies. About 25 heaters stationed all over the building, set up with crossfire angles covering every single way in. Every entrance and stairwell had eyes on it, a warning system tight as a drum, with a back door ready if Bumpy needed to vanish. If the heat got too high to handle, there were nests built into the walls, cover, and shadows designed to keep our boys invisible. It gave Bumpy's crew the high ground to drop bodies without taking a scratch. November 6th, 11 in the morning. 15 minutes before the noon collection, Illinois Gordon got the word. 10 Lucchese soldiers were moving on the building. They rolled up in 3 cars right out front, hiding nothing. Thinking their name and numbers were enough to scare the ghosts away, they walked in unopposed, Vincent Rao leading the pack toward the stairs to Bumpy's office, loud and full of swagger. Just standard intimidation, barking like dogs to own the room before they even saw the man they came to rob. They hit the second-floor hall near the office, and the air shifted. From every doorway and shadow, Bumpy's iron emerged. Men stepped out from the landings and storage rooms, cold steel raised and leveled at the intruders. The Lucchese boys were trapped, surrounded, and outgunned in a hallway that had just become a coffin. Vincent Rao saw the setup for what it was, but his pride made him reach for his piece. That mistake started the war. The whole dance lasted maybe 45 seconds. Caught in a storm of lead with nowhere to duck, the Lucchese crew was cut down piece by piece. Bumpy's shooters fired from the shadows, safe and sound, while the enforcers were left naked in that open hall. When the smoke cleared, all 10 were on the floor, riddled with holes. Not a single soul survived the wrath. 0 casualties on our side. The setup was perfect, and the numbers don't lie. Now came the cleanup. The meat had to send a message, and the law had to be bought and paid for. Politics were played to cut Lucchese's legs off. They snapped photos of the 10 men right where they bled out. Then they moved them to a safe spot, zipped them into body bags sourced from friends in the funeral trade. Every bag was tagged with a name, so the family knew exactly who they lost. A typed letter went with the pile. It was a cold statement about crossing lines. Early morning, November 7th, 10 bags were dropped at a Lucchese funeral parlor in Brooklyn. The drivers vanished without a word. When the staff saw the haul and called the bosses, the reality hit them like a brick. The whole collection crew was wiped out in one stroke. But the police investigation was a tangled mess. It happened in Bumpy's house, where he does real business, and every witness was on his payroll. They all sang the same tune. Lucchese's boys came in heavy and started shooting. The evidence backed the lie. Bullet holes showed the dead men fired first, and Bumpy's hooks in the NYPD made sure the wheels turned slow. slow enough to scrub the floors and make sure every story matched up perfectly. By the time the detectives really looked, the scene was spotless and the alibis were bulletproof. No cuffs, no charges. The official word was 10 mobsters came looking for trouble in Harlem. They got put down, and there wasn't a single voice left to say otherwise. The D.A. knew it was a loser case. Tommy Lucchese took the hit with cold fury and calculation. Those 10 men were an investment, seasoned muscle built up over years of work. They had skills the family needed. Now the family was weaker, and they had zero to show for it. No money, no turf, no respect. But Lucchese had to face the cold, hard facts. Bumpy said no, and the Lucchese crew kicked the door down armed to the teeth. It was clean self-defense. Sending the bodies back was a power move. Bumpy could have made them ghosts forever. Instead, he showed he was in control. To hit back now would need the commission's blessing, and that was a long shot. The word went out quietly, to see where the other families stood. The answer was cold. Carlo Gambino, the boss of bosses, laid it out plain and simple. You tried to shake down Johnson without our say-so. You sent 10 men to take what wasn't yours. They walked into a buzzsaw. That's the price of doing business off the books. Don't ask for help. You took the swing and missed. Swallow the blood and stay out of Harlem. Lucchese stood alone. If he hit back, he'd be a rogue actor against a hard target. Going against a man who just slaughtered 10 of your best without blinking? That's a bad bet. Lucchese made the only smart play left. Eat the loss and drop the squeeze. No more bagmen were sent to Harlem. That $50,000 weekly demand just vanished into thin air. Dead silence on the matter. 10 made guys got buried, mourned by the family. They swallowed the hit, but didn't dare strike back. They spun it internally as a bad gamble, a failure of intel on Bumpy's muscle. Years later, Illinois Gordon broke it down, explaining the moves that won the war. The boss knew Lucchese was coming for a piece of the action, because these Italian crews had been trying the same shakedown for years. We turned the office into a fortress, heavily armed soldiers, crossfires, and perfect cover. When those 10 hitters showed up to muscle us, they walked right into a meat grinder. It was over in under a minute. All 10 wiped out, not a scratch on our boys. That clean sweep came from knowing the score, holding the high ground, and a refusal to pay a single dime. We never bowed down, sending them home in zip-up bags with a note sent a message. It left no questions about where their 10 men went. It showed real power. Bumpy's crew could smoke 10 pros and had the stones to return the receipts instead of hiding them. This drew the line in the sand. No tribute. Come again, die again. It gave the Lucchese outfit the facts they needed to decide if they wanted a war. The meaning of those body bags was crystal clear. In this life, a body bag is the final period. The guy inside is checked out for good. Not hurt, not captured, just dead. Dropping 10 bags at once showed the weight of the Lucchese family's failure and the cold efficiency of Bumpy's operation. The sight of 10 bags stacked at the funeral home became a street legend, proving Bumpy would defend his turf with absolute, crushing force. It showed the Italians couldn't just lean on everyone, especially operators with the means and the muscle to push back. The commission usually held the crown through deep pockets, political hooks, and staying organized. But when a boss like Bumpy could match that weight on his own turf, the commission's reach came up short. It also shined a light on the internal politics of the families. If the commission had backed Lucchese's play and thrown their weight behind it, Bumpy wouldn't have stood a chance. But since the other bosses saw Lucchese's move as a greedy overstep instead of straight business, they left him out in the cold. No backup meant Lucchese ate the entire cost of that failure alone. This business showed the trouble the Italian families had squeezing Harlem's black operators back in the 1960s. In the old days, they could step on them when resources were thin and organization was weak. But by 1964, bosses like Bumpy ran real empires with heavy defenses, political pull, and a trigger finger that made simple threats useless. When Bumpy Johnson checked out in 1968, 4 years after the war, this stood as his masterpiece of street warfare and political smarts. The tale of 10 Lucchese hitters getting wiped in seconds, then mailed back in bags with a stay-out note, became the gold standard of how Bumpy held Harlem against the Commission's greed. Tommy Lucchese kicked the bucket in 1967, 3 years after he missed, never having tried to shake down Bumpy's crew again. That November 1964 lesson taught the Lucchese clan, and word got around, telling the other families that Bumpy's operation had teeth sharp enough to make any extortion too expensive. If you stuck around, smash that like button, leave a word. Was icing 10 hitters justified for a shakedown attempt? Should a boss kneel to the big dogs or fight, no matter the odds? Subscribe, because these stories break down the power plays between the Commission and the independent kings, when the hierarchy clashed with raw tactical skill. Remember those 5 days, November 3rd, 11:47 a.m. Anthony Corallo demanded 50 large a week for the Lucchese family. Bumpy said no deal. Corallo promised 10 breakers would come to collect. Friday, November 3rd, the 5th. Our spies clocked the 10 hitters, got the lowdown on their move. We locked down the Lenox Avenue spot. 25 shooters stationed inside, setting up deadly crossfires. The trap was set. November 6th, 11:47 a.m. 10 Lucchese toughs rolled up, looking to scare up some cash. High noon. The crew breached the building, hit the second-floor hall, and stared down the barrel of our defenses. The guns sang. 45 seconds flat. All 10 hitters wiped off the map. Our side didn't lose a drop of blood. November 6th, into the 7th. Bodies zipped into bags, names tagged. A letter was drafted, spelling out the rules of engagement. Come the morning of November 7th, 10 body bags landed at the Lucchese funeral home, carrying a message. By the 8th, the Lucchese brass understood the hit. They ran it by the Commission, but got zero backing for a countermove. They chose to eat the loss and kill the beef. We fixed the cops through connections, ensuring no charges were ever filed. 4 years later, this tale is street legend, proof of how to hold the line. But that ain't just playing defense. That is tactical genius and street smarts, turning a shakedown into a bloodbath for the guys trying to collect. It showed that authority without the trigger work can't break a crew that's ready, from men who refuse to kneel.